Welcome, welcome, Wise Chat. It's Monday, June 10th, 2024. Thank you for joining Wisecrack Live's Case of the Mondays. We're 10 years old today, so we got some special treats coming up for everybody in chat. Go ahead, get cozy. Mike will be with us in just a moment. As you settle on in, don't forget to lick that stem. See, Zach, that's what I'm curious about, though, because I know, no matter what I smoke, smoking's bad. I just want to know if there's, some bunk science or if I'm just smoking something completely synthetic and bunk compared to the actual thing. Because, like, Delta stuff, CBD gummies, it's not the same as what I like, and that's the THCA, which, once again, is available legally. So I'm very curious as to, why we even have laws. Yeah, that's what I was hearing too, 69 DJ, as far as everything I was reading, which, once again, it just makes the law seem kind of decorative.
What's up, friends and family? When you're here, your family. This is Wisecrack Live. I'm Michael Burns here with producer Henry. It is Wisecrack's 10th birthday.
Happy birthday.
Wisecrack. Yeah. What do we associate the age 10 with? Is it like fifth grade? Is it like what's going on when you're 10?
Middle school?
I don't know. It's a little early for middle school, I think. But yeah, let me just do one thing.
You're trusted to read and you can cook some basic meals on your own?
Yeah. I guess it's time to, I don't know, you can go on a date with Drake. I'm sorry, that was problematic. But we're happy to be here. Just a reminder as we get going, I'll bring this up a few times. We're still partnered with our buddies over at Yes Please Coffee. I'm drinking some Yes Please right now. So like we brought up last week, just know you can hit up Yes Please, use code Wisecrack for 20% off your first order of very delicious coffee. I'm very curious. Once people get some, I want to know what they think about it. The whole point was to get something delicious for you. Shouts to our buddy Aoife in the land of Oz, who hit us up because Yes Please is not shipped to Australia yet. So we do need to find an Australian specific sponsor for Aoife. And for all of our international audience, let us find a sponsor specific to your country. So let us know what you want and we'll find it for you. Please like the stream. if you haven't yet. Yeah, 10 years. So I've been a part of Wisecrack for over 7 of them. And I'm saying that partially because I'm, proud of that, partially because to all the haters out there, I didn't ruin the channel. I've been here for a while. This is not my fault. The channel is ruined, of course, devastated, decimated, but that's not on me. And I just need you all to know that. So today, and yes, we're still doing, hey, listen, if you do a super chat, I'm reading it as long as it's not going to get me fired or ruin my life. That's my standard. As always, be the Lord of the chat, buy some subs. It's a fun thing to do, especially on anniversary day. We're asking people as well, if you have any memories, favorite videos, least favorite videos, times where our work was at all meaningful to you, anything like that, hit us up and we'll talk about it. We'll read it. And we have a bunch of special guests coming on today. Guests that you could say are like ghosts of Wisecrack, past, present, future, all of those things. And I'll give you a heads up as well. Next week, next Monday, we have a very special Father's Day themed episode of Case of the Mondays where we're going to break down the best movie dads of all time. So, Black is Coal, I agree with you. So we'll definitely want to hear from you. If you have top movie dads, you can email those to wisecracklive666@gmail.com. We have a special sponsor for that, guys. And I'm just going to, here's all I'm going to say to you. I might look differently next week because of something a sponsor is sending.
Are you gonna do cosplay? You gonna dress up as a movie dad?
I might dress up like a movie dad, although every day I kind of dress up like a movie dad. Maybe it'll be hair plugs. Let's see. Let me do. Okay, Lux might hop on at some point. He's in transit today, but Lux might hop on and say hi. But I'll say this: if you're an old school culture binge head, you're gonna want to stick around. That's all I'm gonna say. If you are a culture binge head, you want to stick around because there's some guests coming. If you are a show me the meaning head, you're going to want to stick around. That's all I'm going to say. Black is Coal. Believe it or not, Culture Binge helped me so much. Kevin, thank you so much for the toupee sponsor thing. I was kind of setting you all up to make a comment on me getting sponsored a hair transplantation or whatever. Scott Steele, I'm so glad this put you onto Atlanta. Atlanta is a video that I wrote. So something we might do a little bit later is I want to look back at some videos, including some videos that I wrote early on because I'm a narcissist and I want to, explore my own work. And the Atlanta video is one of the first videos I wrote. I realized, how do I phrase this elegantly? I guess I won't phrase it. I'll say this. Early on, some of the first videos I wrote for the channel, one on Get Out, one on Key and Peele, one on Atlanta. There's an interesting thematic in some of the early stuff I wrote for this channel. I also have queued up something that I have never watched, and it is the first video I ever hosted for the channel. I've never watched it. I had a really bad experience filming that video. So, heck yeah, Dude Abides, the OG Culture Binge head. The OG Culture Binge head. But so we're going to watch the first video that I ever hosted on stream today. I'm going to do a live criticism of myself. So get ready for that. That'll be intense. I also have the first video I ever wrote queued up. And one of my favorite underrated Wisecrack videos. It's a thing we've looked at on stream before, but we're going to have to do it again. If you have favorite videos, least favorite videos that you're still confused about, let us know and we'll check them out. And again, wisecracklive666@gmail.com. If you want to hit us up, you can. Later, we'll do a Q&A where I will answer any questions about the channel, past, present, or future, and I'll answer them with horrific honesty. And by horrific honesty, I mean I'll be so honest that I could potentially lose my job. Cool is letting Lux know that he can jump in the waiting room if he's able to hop on it. I think he's there now. So great. So our friend Michael Luxemberg is going to come on for a sec. He's in transit today, but I'm going to ask him some questions that I'm going to ask everyone. So again, thanks for being here. This is Wisecrack's 10th anniversary birthday party. We're going to be here. Thank you, Hector. We're going to be here longer than we normally are on Mondays because it's 10 years, so we're going to be here for 10 hours. This is a 10-hour stream. So everyone, tuck the fuck in. I'm kidding. It's not going to be out. We're already go longer than normal today. And again, Wisecrack Live 666 at gmail.com. Joshua just finished Critique of Pure Reason by Kant. Have you read it? I have. Do you have any book recommendations? If you liked that book by Kant, there's a book by Catherine Malibu called Epigenesis and Rationality, which is kind of on Kant and neuroscience. I think you might really like that. So I would check that out. There's also a book, God, is it the Henrik Beiser book on German idealism? Maybe I'll look that up for you, and then we'll talk to Lux in 2 seconds. Let me just get this up. Yes, yeah, A German Idealism by Frederick Beiser or Bieser, Beiser. German. I'm going to put a link in the chat to our buddy who asked that. I think if you just read Kant, read this next because it's going to give you a really good context of the history of what happens philosophically in the wake of Kant. Check that out. One last plug before we bring Lux on. Wisecrack Philosophy Office Hours is back. I recorded a 30-minute episode yesterday right here in my home. It's up on Patreon. So if you are in Vlad chillin', absolutely. If you are a patron and you're a Wisecrack University member, check that video out. It's a deep dive on anxiety. I talk about some recent controversy around debate and ask you some questions about our upcoming Wisecrack book club. It looks like the Wisecrack book club, which we're going to start soon. I think we're going to start with Byung-Chul Han's Psychopolitics. So that's the situation. Everyone get ready for that. But check out our Patreon. If you are in another Patreon level, you can always upgrade to the Wisecrack University level. To those who have stuck it out during this dry period, I really appreciate it. Okay, let's bring Lux on right now and chat with him for a sec. You guys, you guys know Lux, Michael Luxemberg, Wisecrack, director extraordinaire, and creative director of everything in Enthusiast Gaming Limited corporate. He's currently traveling today, so I don't know where he is. Let's start with that, Lux. Where are you in the world? Oh, but show me. Is the man in the room with us right now? Is the man in the room now? Show me where he is. Are you in an air? We can't hear you, bud. He's talking. We cannot hear you, buddy.
He is chatting and we cannot hear him at a moment. I'm going to give him a message.
Let's imagine what he's saying. I'm assuming he's saying, "My name is Michael Luxemberg. I love police. Every morning I wake up, he's muted. And he prays to police. And he says, 'Dear God of police, bless me with protection and safety.'" I guess he's on his way right now to a pro-cop protest. They're doing a West Coast sort of January 6th on June 10th. And I guess Lux and his colleagues are going to volunteer to be LAPD officers for the week so that the real LAPD officers can all go on vacation. That's really, really kind of him. Relax Rallick says, "How do I deal with the PP gnomes?" Is that a thing? I don't know what the PP gnomes are.
The PP gnome?
Yeah. I don't know what PP gnomes are. I'll assume that's the thing when you get older and you pee and a little bit trickles out when you're done. There's some exercise one of my friends told me about for that. You get older, your age starts to get towards starting with a 4, and this is the thing you talk about with your friends.
Okay. There we go.
Now we have Lux's audio.
There we go.
Live from
somewhere from the garage at LAX.
Oh, horrible place to be. Okay, Lux, we don't got you for a long time, so I have some questions for you.
Okay.
How did you get involved with well, let's start with this. How many years have you been involved with Wisecrack?
I believe this marks year 8.
Amazing. And how did you get kind of brought into the fold? How do you start doing stuff at Wisecrack?
Alec, who I assume is popping on after me because I was talking to him in the waiting room, posted a Facebook status that was like, "Hey, the YouTube channel I work for is looking for people who know movies and philosophy stuff." And then I said, "Is this for real?" And he messaged me and said, "Yeah, man, do you want to do that?" And I said, "Yes." And he introduced me to Jared. And then I started researching. And then Jared was like, "You also direct stuff. You want to start directing so I can take a break sometimes?" I said, "Sure." And then that's it. That was the
Amazing.
whole kit and caboodle.
Can you remember the first thing you worked on?
I think the first thing I researched was the Margaritaville South Park, I think.
Amazing.
And I did like the Baudrillard stuff that was in there about sort of the economy as like mass delusion.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some Derrida stuff. And the first thing I directed was, I think, Death Note, or was it? No, it was the one before Death Note.
Okay. Someone in the chat did note Lux at Lax.
Yes, it's true. You'd think I'd empathize with this airport more because of the similarities in our names. I fucking hate it.
So when you got
I
involved
hate
as
it
well,
almost as much as I love police.
yes. Thank you for commitment to the bit. Did you start doing research stuff before you started directing? And then once you started directing, things kind of took off in that direction, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was writing and directing for a while, and then we had so many freelance writers at the time because you joined on shortly after, Amanda joined on shortly after. There's already Ambrosini, there's already Alec and Jared, and all these people. So it was just like we have a bunch of writers, so we don't really need that. So you can just focus on directing stuff. So that's mostly what I did for a while, with only occasionally popping in to write stuff. I mean, I was like the anime guy for a long time. I was just wrote all the anime scripts because that was my deal. But then yeah, it basically just became the director sort of full time, and then worked with Jared and later you on like cultivating all the different new looks and styles we've built over the years.
Yeah, if I can ask you to be slightly earnest and not just about police, what would you say is the thing you've worked on in your time at Wisecrack that you are the most proud of, that you stand by the most, that the thing you love the most that you've had a chance to work on?
Well, I go into this in some detail on the soon to be released next episode of Behind the Crack, but I think it is the Neon Genesis Evangelion Wisecrack edition. That thing took months to research and develop and write. It took me ages to put the footage together. I was super nervous about it the whole time because I know that fan base is fucking nuts. And it was a ton of work. And it took a long time to get into shape, but then when it came out, everyone loved it. It is one of, I think, our most popular and beloved videos to ever grace the channel of all time. So it was worth the effort. And yeah, I was very proud of putting that one together, especially because it's sort of a front to back Lux baby, like from its origin point.
If you had to redo, if there's anything you've made or worked on that you could go back and redo or do differently, or is there anything that haunts you that you think like, oh, I should have done this, I could have added that, I would have written it this way, I would have added this shot? Is there anything like that, or are you a man that looks forward and not back?
I mean, I'm definitely a man who looks forward, not backwards. You sort of have to be when you make stuff. But I think, retrospectively speaking, as much as I like the Elden Ring video, I think because of the time crunch was under and the amount of stuff that was in it, I kind of wish I had gotten to get a little more time in there. I think there's stuff that we missed, stuff that we could have made better comparisons about, stuff that could have been a little bit more fleshed out, interesting. I could have captured some better footage. That one kind of haunts me. And yeah, I think that's the one that jumps to mind. My God, there are so many Teslas here. It's crazy.
It's the land of Tesla.
Yeah, it's fucked up. But yeah, I think that's the one. Maybe I'm sure there's like there's definitely been some, like, especially like anime ones or movie ones where people have had really insightful comments. I'm springing to mind right now, but there's only times where I've seen comments and been like, "Ooh, I wish I thought of that."
Yeah. Is there anything that you've worked on that, for lack of a better term, bombed, that you're kind of just like, nah, that was really good? You know what I mean? Like a thing that didn't hit that you are just like, that one was awesome. I mean, I have a bunch like this, so there's no shame in this game.
Yeah.
What comes to mind
fun,
for you?
right? Like I've directed almost every video for like 5 years, so I have a shitload of them. But I think, I mean, in in recent history, I really think that protest video we did was really. I think the Who Gets to Be Human video we did was really good.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think people were sleeping on that. I also think that. Oh, I'm trying to think off the top of my head of a couple other ones from longer ago that were particularly fun that people didn't get as into as I wanted them to. Um, oh, the Persona 5 video actually is one that I think. I mean, part of this is an editorial disagreement that Jared and I had that I stand by my position that the Tarot shit was boring and the Derrida shit was cool. We should spend more time with the Derrida stuff. Um, and I stand by that. And I think the video, despite that, still came out really great and did not get quite as much love as I would have liked it to. Because it just, did not get, well, it didn't pop the way I was hoping it would. And I think that video had so much cool shit in it. And the argument that the video is making is, I think, really interesting and I think really good. And so, yeah, that I think is maybe one that if people are watching the stream and want to go check out an old Wisecrack video that maybe they slept on, Persona 5 one, it hits, baby. It's a shooter.
Amazing. Well, Lex, I'm gonna let you go now. If we're still streaming later and you're like in a hotel chilling, let me know. Maybe we can jump back on.
Yeah, or I'll be at the office.
popping
I don't
in.
know. I'm just waiting for Sarah to land and tell me where to go.
Amazing. Well, good luck with that. Everyone give Lux some love in the comments. Go watch the videos you just talked about. Safe journey, buddy. We'll see you soon.
All right, talk to you soon, bud. Bye.
Amazing. Guys, that was our
Bye-bye.
buddy, Michael Luxemberg, your friend and mine. If there's something I know about Michael Luxemberg, he loves habits. He loves stimulants. He loves addiction. And so do I, but to something different. I like coffee a lot. So I want to tell you really quickly about our buddies over at Yes Please. I told you this last week. I reached out to this company because I thought it would be awesome for us to have a high quality, independent coffee sponsor. They're not paying us to do this. We just have a thing where if you order from them and you use the code Wisecrack, we get a little kickback. I'm actively drinking it right now, and I'll show you the one I'm drinking. I'm off this Magic Dance. The Magic Dance. Yeah. It says, well, here, I'll read you a little thing about it because the cool thing I told you before, you get a little zine with your coffee. I think that's cool. I like print media. I like things like that. So it says, enough nuance and richness to enchant, but with a crowd-pleasing balance of flavors, anchored by the complexity of one of our perennial favorite Peru farms. We add a sweet and Tootsie Roll chocolatey single farm Guatemala and a vibrant and rounded community lot from Colombia. Magically delicious. I told you too, you also get a soundtrack. There's little codes there. Here, I'll put this if anyone wants to scan it now. I'll hold it there long enough to where maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it should just be secret, but there you go. But if you head over to Yes Please, YESPLZ, .coffee, and you use code Wisecrack, you get 20%, which is a solid amount off. And I think once you use that code, this coffee is about the price of like a bag of grocery store coffee. And it's like truly good. I've really been enjoying it. I've now had 2 of this month's blends. I like them a lot. I had the Peru last week. That one is a bit lighter. I really like that as an iced coffee. This one is a little more fuller, but I like it very much. They have good graphic design and really nice people. So if you are a coffee drinker, consider checking out Yes Please. Use code Wisecrack. You get 20% off your order. If you really like coffee, you could commit, go all in, get a subscription, get a bunch of bags because you get that 20% code, whether you get 1 bag or 10 bags, you're going to get 20% off. So, get as much as you can. There's a link in no, there's not a link in the description. We'll add a link to the description in a second. There should be a code on screen. We can add the link.
Yes, code is on screen.
Code is on screen. Awesome. So check that out.
Yesplease.coffee.
Coffee
Now.
Awesome. Guys, we're going to bring a guest on in a second. And I would say, and I'm going to make a bold claim here, I think this is the person who is the most influential in the shape of Wisecrack in the last 5 years, and the person who really shaped the channel in terms of what it is today, right now. This person's influence is everywhere. This person is also the one-time host of, my personal favorite Wisecrack podcast ever, Culture Binge. One of New York's finest. The website link is getting shared in in the chat. Let me see if I can add this right here too. Sorry, friends. And I hate to. Yeah, so there you go. Code's in the chat.
Yeah,
And
I
this is
shared it in
Alec
chat and
Opperman.
I added it to the description.
Hell yeah. So let's bring on Alec Opperman right now. Hopefully he didn't hear all the nice stuff I said about him. Because he's not Alex is a great guy, but he's not a nice guy. So if he heard all the nice stuff I said, he'd probably undercut it.
That's
Because
exactly what I was thinking about doing.
yeah, see, I know you. Are you gonna do a video as well, or just want to be a voice today?
No, sorry, I'm very confused. Here I am.
There he is. Oh my god, I'm so used to seeing this exact visual on was it, when did we do culture? Was it a Wednesday thing?
I don't remember. Probably.
I don't remember either. Yeah. Most of you guys know who Alec is. If you don't know who Alec is, you're new, and that's fine as well. Alec, can I have permission to say something nice to you? And you can't be that mean in response.
Okay. Let me. Yeah. Do it. I'll think about how I'm going to respond.
Here's what I'll say. I think the shape of the channel in the last few years, we kind of had a transition from doing primarily media analysis stuff to more sort of social and cultural analysis stuff. And I really see you as the person that helped kind of construct that like side lane for Wisecrack, and the person who I think, if Wisecrack had a collective unconscious, I think you're such a huge part of it in terms of like times where we're working on videos or scripts. I more than anything will think like, and I think I've pissed people off before. I'm not going to say who I've pissed off. If they're watching, they know who they are. Where I've literally been like, yeah. And I've just been like, Alec would say this, or I said once about some script that came in, I was like, Alec would say this is bullshit. And maybe that's me like using you to have deniability from things that I want to say. But so I think that's
I've done
all
the same
true.
thing with no, but like I've had the exact same relationship to Jared's voice in the back of my head.
Mhm.
Jared would say this is bullshit, and I don't
Yeah.
know. And so
No, it
maybe
is. It's like a lineage.
me saying it's bullshit in your head is really me remembering Jared. It's just
And then Jared probably had
passing
some
on.
like college professor that called him out. That professor had someone in the 70s. We go back to cavemen era and things like that. Let me ask you, Alec,
Yes.
how many, when did you come into the fold at Wisecrack?
I'm gonna get the year wrong, but I think it was 2016. I started writing for 8-Bit Philosophy.
That has to be wrong because oh no, 2016 does make sense. I'm sorry for correcting you. Go ahead.
Could be 2015. I remember the month was August. Around about then, I sent a cold email after a Reddit thread and was like, "Hey, can I write for you guys?" And they're like, "Okay." And then I had to fight one of the first. It wasn't the first, but one of the first philosophy of videos was philosophy of Rick and Morty. I think it was like the second or third. I had to fight another writer for it. That writer got very mad,
Shit.
and I think rage quit. Cool guy. Not gonna say anything bad about him, but he rage quit. Wrote it, and it's like today, like one of our best performing videos. So that was cool. And then one day, I called or messaged Jacob. I was like, "Hey, I want to quit my job. Like, do you want to hire me, or like, should I find another job?" He's like, "Oh, we'd like to hire you."
Whoa.
Yeah, and that's how I did it. That was maybe like a year or two after like freelancing. I managed the writing team. I hired you. I hired lots of the other people there. And then I eventually got promoted to the big man, running all the things.
What was your job title when you were a big man?
VP of editorial.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fun fact, no one ever officially replaced you.
I
So
do know that.
so that title kind of remains. Although they just gave us all a bunch of new titles, so now it's really weird.
Do you have like a cool, like, are you the big the VP of dreams or something?
No, I'm the EP of nightmares. Well, no,
Oh my God,
I'm
Dude Abides is still donating. Hey, Dude Abides.
yeah. I remember when Alex Cam froze and y'all made KFC pickup lines while we waited for him to return on Culture Binge. I totally forgot about that. Good call, Dude Abides.
I don't
That is
remember
a real
because my
thing.
camera was frozen, but
That's a real thing that happened. Yeah, well, I have a few questions for you. Then I won't try to take up too much of your time, but I'll try to take up a little bit of your time. What was it when you first got involved? Obviously, I'm sure part of it was just like making stuff and working on shit is cool. But what kind of like drew you into wanting to be involved, and in particular when you forced your way on to a full-time position by sending Jacob a picture of you holding a gun saying, could I have a job? But what was it about like the team and the channel that made you want to kind of put yourself out there like that?
Yeah, I, studied like political theory, aka political philosophy in college, and I was doing like wacky, weird stuff on the internet, in my own way that like people were kind of reading and stuff like that. And so I just really my goal was like I like explaining stuff to people and I like, reading. And so working on Ape philosophy was like a really cool opportunity to say, like, oh, like you need someone to explain the philosophy of, John Locke or something. Like I'll fucking, read and deconstruct those books and, do that. So that was it. And then even as it got into Ape philosophy, or not, sorry, not Ape philosophy, the philosophy of, we're doing philosophy of Rick and Morty and House of Cards and all that fun stuff. It's really just like a way to trick people into learning about philosophy. That was my passion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you think you're watching a video about Fallout, but I'm actually going to teach you about Herbert Marcuse. That was really like my motivation. And even, you mentioned the expansion of the kinds of content we covered. It's not that I was very smart or anything. It was a necessity of the pandemic because movies weren't coming out. But B, like it was still like you want to make fun of flat earthers. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to trick you into learning about the philosophy of science if you want to do that. So that's my motivation. That's why I did it.
What's your favorite thing you ever worked on?
Oh God.
I know it's hard to pick one's favorite children, so
We did it. It was like an experiment that was uh like a different production style called The Internet Was a Mistake. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that one. And also, I haven't watched it in a very long time, but I just remember when the Philosophy of Deadpool video came out, like I was like, oh, this is like really cool. So I also really like that one.
Oh yeah. Is there anything that you worked on or made that you look back and you're like, ooh man, if I could just do this one a little bit differently?
Oh yeah, everything. I mean, especially earlier on, we all got better as we did it. So that's not a critique of anyone, but like
Yeah, yeah.
I became a better writer and when Jared was hosting, he became a better host. And so even watching Philosophy of Rick and Morty, which, is like I think it's up to like 9 or 10 million views. There's just so many different decisions I would have made like in the writing of it. And then I think like everyone who worked on that would probably the same thing about like the editing, hosting, etc. But yeah, the
Yeah.
farther back you go, the more I regret basically.
Hey, it's the same. I feel you there. And then you were one of the people. I remember when I first got involved with Wisecrack, the thing that I don't know if scared me is the right word, shocked me, freaked me out, was how many of you were like debate guys.
Oh yeah.
So I know that you're someone that had a background in debate. So how did, maybe if you don't mind, say a little bit about that, and then how did that background in debate help you in terms of like your form of writing and structuring arguments?
Yeah, so I in college did the policy debate. I was the junior varsity Northeast regional champion. Thank you very much. It's actually
Wow.
that's not very impressive. I was a bad debater,
Classic
but
jock.
but policy debate for people who don't know is a style where you talk really, really fast. And the idea is like you read like highlighted pieces of evidence that could be articles, academic journals, stuff like that, to make a point. So it's literally like you're stringing together like clips of like 20 different articles and you're reading fast as humanly possible to like throw everything against the wall. And then your opponent reads back really fast. And it's the way it's judged is like a very mechanical, like, oh, you made this claim, they didn't respond to it, or their reason of why that claim is true was bad, or this piece of evidence is bad. But I did a style called critique debate where people would say like, hey, we have to avoid nuclear war by sending arms to God knows what dictatorship. They didn't actually say that, but that was the subtext, the implication, if you will. And we get up and we talk about like ecological destruction, like Heidegger, and like philosophy. And so to do this, you need to like be vaguely familiar, if not proficient, in lots of different philosophy. So I was, reading and making evidence from like old like Zizek books and Heidegger books and like random articles on like disability studies and queer theory and all this stuff. And so when you're talking about like, you're watching a TV show and you're like, oh, what's the philosophical subtext of it? It's like really valuable because you're just like exposed to like 18,000 different kinds of philosophical, camps and ideas and stuff like that. And so unlike you, who's like, I just know Kierkegaard really well, I knew a little bit about lots of different things, which was really a valuable skill. And I also think the other part of like how it helps and it has helped a lot of the Wisecrack writers is um, just understanding like when someone's writing something, being able to deconstruct it and is like, is this bullshit? Is this not bullshit? How are they warranting their claims and stuff like that? And I think it's just a really good skill as, the voice of your former boss comes in the back of your head.
Yeah.
I think this might be bullshit.
Man, I really miss the era too. So to give everyone a little picture, behind the crack, as we like to say, at least the time in which I came on the channel, thanks to Alec, and others. Of course, shouts to we're gonna shout out all these people in the course of the day's stream, but shouts to Jared, of course, Jacob, of course, Todd, of course. That guy's fun. And I want to make sure before Alec leaves, he tells his Jacob story. And shout out to John Ford in the chat, who just gave us $5 and is now officially Wisecrack's Associate Director of Social Media Contributions. That's how you get a job. I'm due to buy to ask for Alex slaps and chaps, so I'll that be the last thing I ask him, dude. But there was go ahead.
No, I'll do it later.
Well, no, I was going to say there was a great part about early Wisecrack, or at least the era I came on in 2017, is the way ideas were formed with these like big calls with, sometimes I felt like it was like 10 different writers and researchers, and Jared and Alec kind of running things in the way that ideas would get dwindled down. And then, there was a lot of interaction and critique on scripts, and that copy edits would be really intense. And some, at the time I fucking hated aspects of that. But there was a really nice emphasis on like collective thinking that I think led to a lot of rigor at that point. And folks know this now. It's like very, very different now. So I definitely miss that. And I think too, one of the most impressive things, and I know Alec, you were a part of this, was just like collecting a number of writers and stuff who really knew their shit. Cause in, intervening years, man, it's hard to find folks that can come in and not to like, S our own Ds, but it's hard to write good scripts in the way that we do on this channel. So let me see. I had a couple more questions for you. Well, we talked about the early part of your journey. Tell everyone when you left and why.
I left. Do you know the year? Was it 2022?
I think it might have been 21.
Yeah, it was.
It wasn't the first year the pandemic hit, right? It was the second year.
I believe I had a vaccine at that point.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway,
so that it would have been like spring 2021 or something.
My wonderful partner was like, I just want to quit our jobs and go hiking all the time.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, I really like my job. I'm not going to do that. And then after, working to no fault of, the wonderful organization, you do something for like 6 years and you're like, I'm done with this. They just like, you do something so long, you think about it nonstop all the time. And I just, burned out, or, however you want to describe it. So went on a 6-month road trip, went to like over 20, maybe 30, I forget, national parks, and got really in shape. I'm now no longer in shape. And then wanted to explore different kinds of, video writing and all that fun stuff.
Awesome. And then what have you been up to since then? I know that we've, at least on the channel, we've told people about some of the stuff you've been working on at More Perfect Union. You made a very awesome, you made a bunch of stuff there, but recently made a very cool video that you got to be on the thumbnail for. What sort of stuff you've been up to?
More Perfect Union, I'm working on a couple of videos for them right now. I've been working on a podcast that hasn't released yet, but it's called Cited Podcast, like citation, cited. That if you look up Cited Media, there will be a feed that hasn't been updated a couple of years, but we're doing like kind of like little mini series. We're doing one on psychology, the history of psychology, that I'm producing an episode about where like crowd psychology comes from and the very fun and terrible history behind that. We talk a little bit about polling because psychologists were involved in that. And then the season after that's going to be economics. So I'm doing some cool stuff. So you'll be able to hear my voice and hear me ramble about GDP.
Finally, I'll be able to get off again, to learn again. Everyone check out Cited Media. And now too, I feel like there was a while I was asking you to come on stuff and you had like more like 9 to 5 hours. So maybe we can get you on some things again in the future, even if you just use it as a cynical mechanism to promote your own work.
That's the only reason. No, I'm kidding. Absolutely. I'm not doing 9 to 5. Also, for anyone who's seen my cat in Culture Binge, she's still alive. She's 18.
Yes.
So,
oh my God. Well, speaking of Culture Binge, then we know one of the famous segments. Well, here, let's do two things. We're going to end with your slaps and chaps. Penultimately, can you tell us about the time that you flooded Jacob Solomon, who was, I forget what Jacob's title was, but he was like
he was a
the
founder,
big business
founder CEO.
founder CEO of Wisecrack. Can you tell us about the time that you flooded his really cool Silver Lake house?
Jacob has a very cool house in a neighborhood that I will not repeat, but
I'll tell you what street it's on, guys. I'll tell you exactly where it is.
when I forced him to hire me, he would invite me to LA to like come work in the office for like a week, basically a couple times a year. He hosted me in his house, in his guest bedroom, makes wonderful coffee. We have like an offsite where we get like an Airbnb in like Santa Monica or someplace. And we're there for 8 hours and we come back and his house is flooded because I did not close the tap properly. So, you
Unreal.
know, you're on a work
Unreal.
trip and you flood your boss's house. So that was cool. And I was not banned from his house afterwards, which is a testament to his kindness.
Yeah, that's like amazing. I would have said nothing and just said get out and you never would have seen me again. So obviously I didn't prep you for this part. Well, no one did because dude abides asked. But give us some of your current slaps and chaps on the way out. For those of you who weren't around in the Culture Binge era, Julia was there because she told us that she remembers it was spring 2021 when you left because she had a concussion then. So you leaving Culture Binge is associated with her concussion forever.
Yeah.
The way she framed it, I was
probably
almost
it.
like, did Alec do that? Did Alec leaving give you that concussion? But slaps and chaps is a segment. I think Jacob came up with a name for it. I always hated it, but I grew to love it a little bit. Where your slap is something that you like, you enjoy it, you're happy about it. Your chap is something that chaps your ass. So give us a couple on your way out so we can learn from your impeccable taste.
Slaps, watching Mr. and Mrs. Smith, not done with it. It's incredible. Slaps, finished Fallout, the TV show, also really good. Chaps, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep it positive.
I like that. I really appreciate that. You know, I think we might have some people on later who are just more like negative types. So, great. Well, you know, I think next up is our friend Helen Floersh. Do you have any like words for her when we bring her on? Like things you want me to say or to communicate, or just nothing?
Tell her I said hi.
I'll tell you that. Alec Opperman, thank you so much for being here. Everyone go follow Cited Media and then bully Alec so he comes back and hangs out with us again soon because he's one of the best people.
Aw.
Oh, and then go watch everything on More Perfect Union that he makes. You're also allowed to watch videos that he didn't make, but I would ask that you first watch the ones that he made, like, comment, all that sort of stuff, and then you can watch other ones.
Exactly. Thank you.
Awesome. Have a good one, Alec.
Thanks. Bye.
Great. That was our buddy, Alec Opperman. Truly someone that meant a lot to me. You know, we did Culture Binge together. And like you said, like is a really good and intense reader of scripts and someone who is often in my head as I think to myself, Michael, this is kind of bullshit. And sometimes it is. You know, I'll be honest. Let's be honest for a second, guys. Sometimes we're on tight deadlines and sometimes you just don't have time. So you write a thing and you're like, this is kind of good. I kind of get this, but then it comes out and you're just like, that was mid. You know, sometimes we make videos. I'll take more personal responsibility. Sometimes our videos are a little bit mid, and it happens, but we put out a lot of stuff. So there you go. Let's see, yes, JT, thank you so much, buddy. So now we're going to bring Helen Floersh as we bring her on. Helen, great person. I was going to do a really nice intro, Helen, that you weren't going to hear, but now you're here, so you have to hear my intro for you.
Well, this is awkward. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead. This better be good.
Helen was born on the mean streets of rural Tennessee. She grew up among the horses and the lilies. At a certain age, she drank toxic water that imbued her with powers. No, are you going to go camera on, Helen, by the way? You
I
don't
thought
have
I
to,
already did. I mean, is it not on? It told me it was on, but it lied. Oh, you know, I found it. Oh, now it's on.
Oh,
Hey!
cool sweater.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at this. Look at this cat.
That's really fun. Also,
Yeah.
Just
great.
to really get into sartorial stuff right off the bat. Fun to see you in colors. I feel like much of the time I've ever seen you wearing black.
I mean, it's mostly for financial reasons, you know? You just can't go wrong with
Black
it,
clothes are
and
cheaper.
just black clothes are it's not even that they're cheap, I mean, it is. It is, actually. It's not, but it's that, like, you know, it's gonna you can wear it with everything, you do it over and over again. But, Evan, the former producer at Wisecrack, is anybody
Who
listening to
might
this
be
or watching
coming
this
on
knows.
later. Hint, hint, folks.
Oh, love that. Love Evan. It was Evan that told me that I needed to stop wearing black. He also told me that I looked sweaty. So
Mm.
sweaty and wearing too much black. But
Wow,
yeah, I learned a
Evan,
lot
the
from
man
Evan.
of brutal honesty. Well, let me
Yeah.
do a couple intro things now. So, Helen Floersh is a lot of things: a writer, actor, performer, researcher, wearer of black. And in terms of Wisecrack, Helen has written, Helen has hosted, Helen has voiceovered, Helen has helped produce stuff, done a little bit of everything over the years. So I'm going to ask you some stuff. I've asked a few people these things because I'm curious about them. Tell me how you came into the fold doing stuff for Wisecrack.
Yeah, well, I met Jacob, and I can't even remember the circumstances that where Jacob and I met. I think we were maybe out in the same. Honestly, we probably might have met at a party actually. And
Nice.
we just had some like mutual friends, and I had just graduated from USC with a master's in journalism, and I was really trying to decide if I wanted to go into traditional broadcast news or wanted to do something with YouTube, and I was just trying to figure it out. And he and I
Mm.
got to talking, and we were talking about the neuroscience of like being gay. Like what that was kind of actually one of the things we were talking about how like, you know, there's science that suggests that like, you know, the gay brain is really different. All of these things, and Jacob was like, this is so fascinating. So sorry, like what do you do? And so we kind of got off on like a really nerdy foot.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun conversation. And we were talking about how, you know, they had this channel, and I was, you know, which I was familiar with Wisecrack already because I'd seen a
Mhm.
video on what was it, what I feel like it might have been a what went wrong
Yeah.
with the second Finding Nemo movie. I don't remember what it was. It was definitely one of those things. Maybe it was something earlier. Anyway, I don't know. Make a long story short, he was like, you know, you kind of sound like you might be a good fit for the channel. Actually, you have this background in media, and you know, I guess I was giving off wisecracky vibes, and so he's like, you should, you know,
Yeah, you
meet the
drive that vibe.
co-founder, and they were interested in pursuing some science stuff, and that's what my former life was. You know, I studied neuroscience and pharmacology, and they were like, hey, let's see if you could write some stuff for us where you kind of look at concepts and science and psychology through the lens of pop culture. And my first episode that I wrote, and that they also let me host, was on the science of One Punch Man and like the psychology of Ikigai and of these different things. Like, why is, you know, Saitama so he lacks no purpose, and what is the psychology behind that? So that was a lot of fun, and the science stuff didn't take off as well as I
Yeah.
think we'd hoped.
Yeah.
But which we know that's a difficult thing to crack on this channel is science. But it was a good time, and they were like, you know, yeah, you have all of these other interests too. Like, let's keep hanging out. And so I got to keep posting videos, and it's been so awesome. And I'm so grateful that Jacob wanted to nerd out with me that day, and that I've gotten to do this.
Yeah, I mean, if I have it correctly, I'm pretty sure. I think you were like the first person besides Jared to on-camera host, and then I came in. I think I came in after you.
Yeah, I think
I
that was
don't.
how it went down. No, that was it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there were, because obviously there were other like properties, but for the main Wisecrack
Oh yeah, for like the
channel,
Wisecrack edition
yeah,
stuff, obviously not
yeah,
the
yeah,
more like
yeah, totally,
character-based shows.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's how I was like made aware of your existence. Why is Evan here now? Did Evan just jump straight in? He was not invited yet. Look at that little piece of shit.
Mm,
Evan just
Evan.
popped in.
Um, Evan can
Wow,
pop in
yeah,
anytime.
waiting room, you fucker. Oops, sorry. But yeah, that's how I was first made aware of Helen when they were like, oh, this This woman who knows science things is hosting. Trying to remember. I'm trying to remember the first time I met you, Helen. I wonder if it was. Did we do like a podcasty thing together?
We might have done it might have been a podcasty thing. But I wonder if you weren't were you writing? Well, you were writing already for Wisecrack, right?
Oh yeah, I started writing for Wisecrack
Okay.
in the spring of 2017, so about a little over 7 years ago. So
Okay, yeah.
I think I wrote for a couple of years before I ever did any hosting stuff.
You might
I'm
have
pretty
written
sure.
some episodes I hosted, but I don't
I
remember what
might
they
have,
were.
yeah. Oh, I think I did. I think. Oh, I worked on it with someone else, but I worked on the Good Place one with someone that I'm pretty sure you
That was one of my
hosted.
favorites. That one was you and Amanda,
Yeah.
right?
I
Wrote
think it
that?
was
Maybe it was just you.
Claire
Claire.
and me or
Yep.
Amanda. Oh yeah, I forget. But yeah, there was a lot of fun stuff. And you know, what was I about to say? But yeah, and I feel like one of my favorite things we ever worked on, and you know, this kind of touches back on the science thing, and why it just has never really taken off on this channel. And it makes sense. Like it makes sense why it hasn't.
Mm.
But Helen and myself and Evan, who will be here in a bit, worked on this Wisecrack Labs format that Helen hosted, which I really loved. And if you guys haven't watched it yet, I'll post a link later. But it was really fun. We had a really nice set for it. Helen was very in her bag and that sort of thing. And I recommend people watch it if they haven't. Is there anything that you've worked on over the years at Wisecrack that you liked a lot, or that stands out to you as something that was one of your favorite things you did?
I mean, all of it. I loved it.
Wow.
Honestly, like I know. Well, it's I've gotten really lucky. I mean, I do think Wisecrack, in terms of the stuff you can find on the internet, is kind of top tier. So I feel really lucky that this is the hole that I fell into. But no, I think the Good Place episode, I was actually thinking of this earlier. That stands out as one of my favorites because that one was super, super smart. I mean, they all were, but that one in particular, I loved hosting and I loved the show.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of other episodes that are kind of in my highlight reel. One of them is the BoJack Horseman episode, as I love BoJack Horseman. It's like all the ones that I love the shows definitely stand out. The other one is the weird history of adult animation. I think Amanda did
Oh, that
write
was
that
a
one.
good one. That was a good one.
That one was so fun, and I love the writing. I did the episode on the Purge, or one of them. I know I'm sure we've done more than one at the beginning. The Rick and Morty stuff was fun. But one of my favorite memories actually is for that show that it was like we were trying all this experimental stuff. We had the Wisecrack Labs was the same era
Yeah.
as this debate show. Do you remember that one?
We might later in the stream. I was maybe gonna watch some of that with people on here.
Yeah.
It was a little format called Hot Take or Hot
Take.
Takes. I think Take.
Indeed. Oh yeah, maybe we would think it was Hot Takes. I don't even remember, but God, that one. So that was my first time ever. As I've never done like improv. I've never done stand-up. I've never done anything
Yeah.
like that. This was my first time doing something that was like kind of in that world a little bit, and it was. Even though it's not one of those things everyone should. You guys are gonna watch it, so I don't know. I feel like it could have totally taken off. I feel like I
Absolutely won't.
bombed, but it was so much fun. Like that was just a fun format. And
You know what?
yeah.
You did not bomb, because I was thinking about this. I remember feeling after the fact though that I kind of feel like in a sense you weren't as set up to succeed because it was a format that was really dependent on like people that were more like comedians.
Right.
And you're a really good host, really good writer, and you're like a funny person, to be clear, but I don't think you're
I'm a
out here just
comedian.
like, yeah, your thing
No.
isn't that you're like ready to just like obnoxiously riff at all times. And an annoying
Yeah.
thing about comedians is they're ready to obnoxiously riff at all times.
I mean, I would love to be able to obnoxiously riff at all times, but this was really, really fun. This whole
It was a
whole
fun
yeah.
it was a fun day. It was a fun
Yeah.
day. So but it was a wild period. It was a wild period that happened. Now since
Yeah.
then, obviously you still host with us sometimes. We're hoping to do more. And again, I keep teasing people about this. Hopefully, guys, they're going to let us start this goddamn second channel. They keep telling us that it's going to happen, and then they pull it away. We have a big meeting this week where maybe it's going to come up. So, what I want more, Helen, on Wisecrack. I know that you all do as well. There's obviously lots of positive energy being sent Helen's way in the chat because we all love Helen. But what other stuff have you been working on recently? We know you're a multifaceted, multi-talented person. I know you've been working. Can I say the channel you've been doing some stuff for?
Maybe
Nope.
not now. Yeah,
Nope.
not yet
Nope.
because it hasn't come out yet. So I don't know
NBC
when.
Universal, Fox
Yeah,
News.
that's it.
Helen
Yeah.
is Helen's the Rachel Maddow of Fox News.
That's it.
She looks like she's going to be just like a nice, educated liberal, but then she's going to hit you with the most vicious alt-right takes you've ever heard. Oh, so what stuff have you been working on? What stuff are you into? What stuff are you interested in doing? What's been up with you?
Yeah, so I have been writing for, shall we say, an entertainment news channel. That's all I can give away. That is also very smart and very good. Got lucky to that they were interested in having little me write for them. So but
They're
that stuff hasn't
lucky
come
to
out
have
yet.
you. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
No, they're a really great time, and definitely when that stuff comes out, I'll be sharing it. But yeah, so that's exciting. Sorry, just gonna move this out of the way. It's
Yeah.
not doing anything anyway. Then I've just been, so I write. I'm a freelance writer for hire. And so I've been doing just a lot of that, pretty much whatever, mostly journalism, I guess you could call it. I write for a company called Fierce Biotech, and I've been covering the biotech industry, mostly early stage research. To be honest, it's getting a little. I think I need to take a little bit of a. I don't know. I'm like, maybe they're watching this. I think I need to take like a week off or something because I'm
I
like,
support that.
it's just. I write about animal experiments all the time, and I know that they're necessary in science, but man, it's just really the organoids and the other stuff that it's gonna come along to get rid of animal research can't come fast enough. So anyway, but on a less depressing note, a lot of the stuff I get to write about is, like exciting, hopeful science stuff as opposed to dystopian science stuff. So that's that part, you win some, you lose some. So
Would that be like
a
I don't want to project dreams onto you, but would that still be a thing in your mind that would be like a cool professional fit for you where you get to do all the stuff in like a sciencey thing?
I'm kind of burnt out on science a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been enjoying it, but I'm kind of more interested in, if I talk about science, like bigger picture stuff, like how it affects society, as opposed to the granular kind of like, this is how it works. There are so many people out there who do that so well,
Yeah.
so well. And I think for me, I'm not a scientist, and I'm fascinated by it, but I think it's kind of like maybe it's a personality flaw. I have the capacity to get enthusiastic about almost anything. And so I
Yeah.
kind of like to explore some of those other things. And it's, more creative stuff too. Like lately I haven't been on social media as much, so I've just been watching a lot of
So
movies
smart.
and reading lots of books like Cillian Murphy Life. It's great. But yeah,
Is that like
I'm
his thing?
kinda
Is that what
like,
he does?
I think in an interview he said that that's what that's what he does. And takes long walks or something. I don't remember exactly the quote, but yeah, the guy's he's private guy, and I dig that. And it's like there's a lot, it's just there's a lot of value in unplugging if you have the chance to do that. And so I've been doing a lot of that. I watched The Graduate like 2.5 times yesterday. Don't know why, I was
Oh,
just
hell yeah.
nostalgic for it. Yeah, great
Nice.
film.
I want everyone to know in the chat, I did just post a link to the Wisecrack Labs video. So check that out. And I will say in the chat, Evan has said, I'm here to contest Helen's claim that I said she looks sweaty.
He said, you absolutely said that I looked sweaty, and I'll never forget it, but it's okay. Do I look
Evan,
sweaty? No.
we believe women on this stream, and we're not going to let some man come in here and do this. Okay. We've seen patriarchy in action for a lot of time, and the buck stops here, buddy. Well, Helen, on your way out then, you kind of already did this organically. Before I bring in two legendary psychopaths, Raymond Kramer and Evan Yee, anything else you want to recommend besides The Graduate? Anything you're enjoying, whether it be a book? Ooh, never mind. I'm not going to respond. Book, music, game, going on walks, a recipe you're liking, anything you want to recommend on the way out.
Recipe. No, I saw a film the other night. It's Pride Month. Happy Pride to everybody. And who celebrates and who, and allies, just everyone. I saw a film called Funeral Parade of Roses, and I'm not going to try to pronounce the director's name because I will butcher it, but it takes place in Tokyo in the 1960s, and it is a very interesting film, with a lot of slapstick. Have you seen this movie?
No, I haven't.
Funeral Parade of Roses? It's great. It's like just really interesting queer Japanese cinema, which my boyfriend's Japanese, and he's like, those words don't come together a lot, and so I highly recommend this movie. Yeah.
Amazing. So everyone check that out. And again, hopefully we see more of Helen soon. But in my mind, Helen, such a great part of Wisecrack. I always feel very honored that Helen and I were like the two people they brought on to be, on camera around the same time. Very, very honored to even sort of swim in the same stream as you, Helen. So hopefully we'll get, I can't say too much. I want to do more stuff with Helen soon. Hopefully we all make it happen. I know you all in the chat want to make it happen. So please give Helen some love. And Helen, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for stopping by.
All right.
Okay. Well, again, guys, before we get our next guest on, I'm not trying to be a shill because they're not paying us to do this. I'm still enjoying my Yes Please coffee right here. It's the magic dance. Again, we partnered with Yes Please Coffee to offer you really good coffee. Harsh is late. So yeah, I'm going to catch Harsh up on what's going on. Hey guys, I'm Michael Burns. I'm here with producer Henry. We're celebrating the 10th anniversary of Wisecrack. We're doing it by bringing on a series of guests who have been involved with the channel over the years and shaped where it is now. Later, we're maybe going to talk about some of my experiences on this channel. We want to hear from you as well. Please email us at wisecracklive666@gmail.com if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you have favorite videos you want to share, memories about, things of that nature. We have another couple guests coming up in a second. Please, if you haven't watched last week's video on anxiety, it came out on Friday at BOMBED. But check that out if you want. I think it's pretty good. Helen was not the first guest, Fun GPT, but you can always go back and watch this later. This always goes up as VOD. Reminders as well, check us out on Spotify if you haven't already. That's a fun thing that we're doing that we're liking. Check out Patreon. I just put up a long new episode of Philosophy Office Hours. 30 minutes of me saying things. If you're not a Wisecrack Patreon member, think about it. If you are and you're not a Wisecrack University member, think about it. But thanks for just being here. We appreciate you all and like you a lot. And finally, if you want to drink coffee, drink Yes Please Coffee. They're our new coffee partner. Again, we reached out to them. This isn't some fucking chill thing where some person I don't know emailed and was like, we have a client that's really interested in partnering with you. No, I emailed them. They were cool. We got on a call. Awesome people. They make really good coffee. I'm drinking some of it right now. You get a cool zine when you order it. You get 20% off with code Wisecrack. So if you drink coffee anyways, do me a favor and try Yes Please. And to be clear, I'm telling you to do this because I'm very confident you'll like it because it's super good. So there you go. Today is also my wife and I, 10th anniversary. Amazing. Okay, our next guest, guys, this is a trigger warning. Our next guests are certified psychopaths. One of them is a former and future host of Show Me the Meaning. He's also a filmmaker and a writer. Another person used to be, head producer at Wisecrack, an incredibly influential person in terms of how the channel works and someone who shepherded the channel through a really difficult era. One of my favorite people I've ever worked with, and who currently works at an upstart channel called New Rockstars. Ever heard of it? And runs a little show over there called The Break Room. We can bring him in now. Raymond Kramer, Evan Yee, just a real who's who of psychopaths.
I think
this is so funny. I was so ready to do a bit, but Alec was talking to me about something very serious in the waiting room, and now I'll never get to hear what he was saying.
Evan, Alec, Helen, and I were in the waiting room together, and honestly, I was going to message you, Michael, and say, like, maybe we should just move the stream over here, because things were heating up between Evan and Alec.
Oh my god.
Really, were you guys fighting?
We were talking. No, we were doing the
not just between Evan and Alec, but Helen was screaming at Evan before she logged off.
That sounds
actually
so much more fun. I don't want to be on the stream. I want to be in
I'm
the
actually
waiting room.
not joking. Helen was actually mad at Evan. I'm not doing a bit whatsoever.
Yeah,
This
I
is amazing.
think they'll be okay, but she was giving you a stern dressing down, sir.
I definitely owe Helen one nice compliment and one invitation
Mary.
to wear more black.
Wow. Well, I was doing an intro, and if they did a remake of the movie Seven Psychopaths, it would be called Two Psychopaths and would just star you guys. But you guys know who these people are. Raymond, the one who's taller, Evan, the one who's shorter. The only distinguishing characteristic between both of them. Raymond, former host of Show Me the Meaning, hopefully coming back soon. Filmmaker, does lots of cool stuff. Evan, known for many things, being a legendary shit starter, telling women about their appearance, and Evan,
men's rights activist.
Yeah, classic men's rights. We found him.
Gosh,
we met him in the chat room of a lot of kick streamers feeds where he hangs out all the time, just saying crazy stuff. It's wild. And Evan, was in my DMs recently calling me a soy cuck pussy. But we're here now. Evan, of course, now works at New Rockstars. Do you run the Break Room show? I don't want to mischaracterize what you do, but
yes, that's I was hired as an associate producer for the Break Room back when it was on the New Rockstars channel, and now that it's on its own channel, I kind of run the whole production and everything on that. I still report to Eric Voss, who's in charge of all the content decisions, but yes, otherwise the Break Room is the show I run.
Well, I'm going to ask some questions. Well, I'm going to kind of try to go back and forth. I wasn't ready for a 2-on-1 today, so I'm going to try to adapt as much as I can.
I know.
I
told Ray.
I was going one at a time, and then these two said, "We play by our own rules." Kimasabi.
I have to jump off in 10 minutes, unfortunately.
Start with Ray. Start with Ray.
What I was going to say is I'll take all Evan's questions up front, and then he'll take all mine once I jump off.
Let's see that.
Well, I know this question will imply Evan to an extent, but I want Raymond to speak on it. Raymond, what was your first involvement with the old YouTube channel that could Wisecrack? How did you get brought into the fold? What was the first thing you were working on?
You know what it was back in the this was however many years ago when Jared was kind of getting ready to take his leave from Show Me the Meaning. Evan reached out to me on behalf of Wisecrack, and he said, "Hey, we're auditioning folks to kind of fill the third chair on Show Me the Meaning."
Yeah.
And he knew me as a big film enthusiast, so he thought I should throw my hat in the ring. Sure enough, I did. I went and had kind of an audition process with Austin, and we chatted for 20 or 30 minutes. Just kind of did a fake episode of it. Which I don't even know if that was recorded. I think that one's in the Wisecrack archive somewhere. And after that, I think it was several months before anyone reached out to me again about it, but it was kind of like a last-minute thing. I think a different guest dropped out, and then they tagged me in for a guest spot on one, and I guess it went well enough that they kept me around. But it was pretty much that. Like I said, I went and auditioned, and then I had more or less figured that it wasn't going to happen because I think it was another half a year later before I finally got tagged in. But I suppose the rest is history.
Over here.
Hey.
Raymond, so I know, and I'll ask you something about. I'll make sure we talk about this before you leave. Before you did that, had you done much hosting type stuff before?
No, not really. I had hosted a radio show when I was in high school, just on my local, one of the local radio stations. My uncle had a daytime talk show every day, and then every Friday it would do current events and politics, and then on Friday he would just do a goof show where we would talk about music and movies and stuff like that.
That's so cool.
I did that pretty regularly when I was 17, 18, but nothing since then. But it was a good time. I think to the extent that I draw on that experience is just try to prevent any sort of dead air and things like that. But with such great co-hosts in the Wisecrack stable, there's always someone to fill the gaps.
Now, well, Dude Abides brings up in the chat, still holding out for the Culture Binge versus Show Me the Meaning trivia night brought up in the Step Brothers episode.
Oh, we did talk about doing that. That would be a lot of fun, but I think at this point it would be tough to rally the troops. I don't know.
I mean, we could. We just had Alec on.
Yeah.
Serbi's maybe attainable.
Hey,
Austin, we know where he is.
I'm very nervous about going up. I mean, you guys would have such a formidable trivia team between you, Alec, and Serbi. And over on our side, it's like idiots like me and Ryan and Austin. I don't think we would do terrible.
Hey, I'll tap in. I'll tap in on team SMT.
Well, you guys, back, in the waiting room, we should talk about this. I got a great spot that the three of us should do trivia at sometimes, guys. Gary, I got a spot.
Let me know.
But I've already said too much. But then we can invite people to come play against us.
I love a good trivia round, but I care about it too much. Like last time I was playing trivia, my girlfriend looked at me and she goes, "Are you even enjoying this?" Because I get so worked up. I don't want to miss a single question, and my hands will start to shake. I do, and I'm not joking. I get genuinely nervous about. Yeah, right.
Well,
I get so worked up about it.
Squad is guaranteed W's. Guaranteed W's. Okay. Question: do you have any memories, Ray, of any of the Show Me the Meaning stuff? Like an episode that stands out to you that was particularly fun, interesting, insightful, controversial, anything like that? Or you could just say no, it was all a blur and who cares?
No, I mean I'm trying to think because Austin and I have been doing cinemathology since Show Me the Meaning went off air. We're kind of on a semi-permanent hiatus at this point. But we did 50-some episodes of that. So there are some times where I get confused between the conversations I've had with him on that show. Both of you guys have been on that show. There's a lot of Wisecrack overlap with that one as well. But on Show Me the Meaning, I do remember one that sticks out in my mind was the Pacific Rim episode where Austin and I just did a two-man podcast, which was, I think, the first time that we just got on mic together without a third. And I remember that one specifically because I was kind of kicking myself afterwards because we had a good conversation, but at no point in the conversation did I bring up climate change. And it's just one of those things where that's so much of what that movie is about. Like all the kaiju they have the same categories as hurricanes. It's like a very obvious metaphor for climate change for a number of reasons. And it's just one of those things that's so right in front of you that you kind of just ignore it because you assume like, oh, well, everyone's on board with that. And then there were a few people in the chat as we were wrapping up who were like, no mention of climate change, shaking my damn head. And I was like, okay, yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on this one. So I went on the YouTube stream or the YouTube feed of it that's been saved. And I wrote like a big 1 or 2 paragraph thing that's just like, people have pointed out that I forgot to bring up climate change. Obviously, that's on me. I just didn't think about it. Austin and I were just having a good time. And then I wrote out a whole thing of like, here's why it's about climate change. And, there's this and that and the other. And, for all of these reasons, it's kind of cool that Guillermo del Toro was able to make such a big budget production that, has something like that on its mind as well. But in terms of episodes that I didn't leave kind of kicking myself, I don't know. I had a blast on one of the last episodes we did, I think, was the most recent Spider-Man film. And it was like me, Evan, Lux, and I think Maddie jumped on as well.
Yeah.
Because it was
that was a chaos episode. I very much enjoyed that one.
It was real last day of school energy, and I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, my friends listened to it, and that was like one of the first things that I think that they had like listened to me like do, and they said it's like, wow, it sounded like you guys were all in the same room talking, and I was like, oh, little do you know.
Well, also too, deep lore. Not that this is deep at all. Before our podcasts were thrown against the wall and shot through the back of the fucking head, Raymond was starting to do some Culture Binge stuff as well, and we were kind of. Yeah. We were kind of finding a fun little groove on Culture Binge where I think it was like Maddie producing and Raymond, and we had our friend Rachel on a couple times. We had Helen on a couple times. We were starting to find a little groove there. I'm sad to not see what that could have become.
I was actually going to bring up Culture Binge as one of those things that, even though I didn't, I did maybe 3 or 4 episodes of that. I really did enjoy that because as much as I love talking about movies, as I'm sure everyone on this channel knows, um, Culture Binge was always a blast just because it was by design a little bit more freewheeling. We weren't as stuck to the script necessarily of just talking about one movie or whatever. And so I really did I love jumping on with you and Helen and Serby whenever we got the chance, because just chopping it up about current events, I think also gave us the space to like just riff and joke around a little bit more.
Yeah. Shout out to the people that killed our podcast. One of the all-time dumbest fucking decisions anyone in our like parent group ever made. I'll tell you guys this now.
Standing
It was
up.
one of the cheapest things we fucking made were podcasts. We were able to sell like ads on them and stuff too. It was just like so low stakes. And I'm gonna, I'm going crazy now. It's hour 2. I'm going crazy. These fucking idiots make us shut down podcast and then try to make us make a bunch of stupid videos that cost a lot of money to make that nobody watched. It was just so dumb. It was so dumb, guys. But the main thing here is that people, the corporations, always know what's best. And if someone makes more money than you, it's because they're smarter than you. You always got to remember that.
Shout out to the corporations.
Shout out
It was
to all
also one of those-
corporations worldwide.
One of those things that felt a little bit like a shivving too, because within weeks of getting, or rather just a couple weeks before we got canceled, we had heard from the network like, oh, they want to map out the next however many months, they want to do that. Like, they had told us to be planning medium to long term, and then all of a sudden there was like a 180 within the space of 2 or 3 weeks. And so I remember a handful of people reaching out and being like, why did Show Me the Meaning wrap up so abruptly? It was like, we just were told that we had to wrap it up abruptly. It was pretty much the answer. Like,
It was really wild. And I remember too feeling at the time like it was a little bit of a fuck you to the audience who had been so cool and loyal in those communities. And that was the thing that bummed me out the most, was that feeling. And especially too, it was a decision made by people that I don't think had any sense of the audience or the community or whatever. So, which is now funny that like, a couple of years down the road, so much emphasis now is on building out things like podcasts and streams and things like that. Raymond, I know I have to go in a second, so let me just ask you this then before you go. What have you been working on? What are you doing? What are you up to?
There's some stuff that I can't really talk about too much.
So much secrets on so many secrets.
No, not secret. I mean, I guess.
I know. We
get
it. Yeah.
Some stuff under NDA, but I'm. It looks like there's a pretty good chance that I'm going to be shooting another movie. My first movie is almost finished and should be getting to festivals this fall. And then I should be shooting another movie this September, and then we're also scheduled for a third one in January, February. So it's been when we first broke for Cinemathology a little while ago, I had told Austin like, let's just get through this next couple months. I've got to get through some development stuff on this project, but it doesn't go on its feet until January. And then all of a sudden the financiers kind of crunched the numbers and they were like, would you be interested in maybe sneaking in another movie before then, since we have some
Just
time? Like, is there anything?
Yeah.
It was one of those things where they were like, based on their projections and the budget levels that we were working at, they were like, we think it would be interesting to see if we could do another movie in the meantime. And so it looks like that's going to happen, but nothing's set in stone yet. The one is going to happen in January, February. But right now we're kind of trying to move at warp speed to get one on its feet in the next few months. So hopefully things work out. But until then, until the dust settles, it looks like I'm not going to be podcasting for a while, which is unfortunate because, like you were just saying, Michael, there's a great audience, much of it sort of overlapping with Wisecrack's audience, who were really, really supportive of Cinemathology and everything that Austin and I were doing there. But hopefully we'll get a chance to put it back on its feet when, like I said, when the dust settles.
Hopefully. And then Raymond, if you're still down for this, I think you're going to come on next week to talk about some movie stuff with us. So everyone check out the show next week. We're going to talk about dads.
That's one of the things that's a little. It's a lot easier for me to do stuff like this just because I don't have to do like the producing and the editing of it when I can sort of just jump on and work with
All
you,
we want
Michael,
from
and
you,
you,
bud.
Henry.
That's all we want.
It's a real blast to be able to do this when I can. But yeah,
Okay,
I'm
well,
really looking
speaking
forward
of
to it.
yeah, speaking of fatherhood, go be a good dog dad. And now we got to grill
Hold
Evan
on.
for a bit.
Let me get some pup
Oh.
on the stream before we go.
Ooh, pup stream. Trigger
The
warning,
sick,
cats.
the sick girl. He's had kennel cough for the past few
Aw.
days,
Oh,
so I got to get her into the
no.
vet. But
Aw.
there she's coughing now. We've triggered it. Oh no. You okay, sweet girl? I don't want to exploit her illness. Look away, everyone. All
I
right,
think
we're
kennel
going to the
cough can
vet
be
right now.
transmitted via Discord, right?
I think
Yeah.
you can. Yeah. Sorry, everybody. Lock up your
Oh
pup.
no. That
All right,
dog
take
was
care,
not
everyone.
vexed. Okay. Thank you so much, Raymond. Wow, Evan. It's just we got you alone now.
Holy cow.
Jump right into it, Evan. Trying to remember when did you get brought into the Wisecrack fold? How did you jump in that
Yeah.
sinking ship?
So, I mean, at the time it was a rising ship.
Yeah.
I came in the summer of 2019. I was working as a kind of like freelance person in the film and digital space, and just working on set, doing lots of different things, producing short films and independent music videos and stuff like that. And then the first producer that was hired, I believe, was Emily Dunbar, who worked at
Mhm.
Wisecrack, and she
Shouts to Emily.
shout out to Emily. She was getting ready to leave after Wisecrack had just been acquired by then Omnia / Blue Ant. And so
We've had
she was
so many
ready.
daddies.
Yeah, she was ready to leave, and they were looking to train someone to kind of be a producer. And so I came in, and I think there were a couple different people who were interested in the job. And I don't know how it ended up being that I was fortunate enough to get the job, because I think maybe on paper I was a little underqualified at the time. But yeah, I was I did some part-time stuff, and then I was hired full-time in August, right before my birthday. And then it was
What year was that you came on full time? 2019?
2019.
Yeah.
It was and then it was a wild run from that part of Wisecrack, that time period, and then straight into the pandemic and straight
You
into
literally
remote
had like
stuff.
2 normal-ish months, and then stuff started happening because there's some stuff started
Yeah.
happening. Remember, like October of that year, which
Yes.
then it was just like, yeah, you were just almost always in some like unstable, changing landscape.
Yeah. And, I mean, Jared has been pretty open about it, I think, in the past, but I think
Mhm.
he was going through some stuff around that time. So I didn't really get to, I don't think I really got to meet Jared all the things in his life that were like
Mhm.
affecting him, doing work at Wisecrack. But I do
Yeah.
like credit him for like the level of the quality of the videos. And I think it was always like a
Definitely.
guiding force as far as like how we approach how when Jared kind of stepped away and Alec and I were doing stuff kind of before you were brought on, like full time.
Yeah.
We were kind of like steering the ship and keeping a certain like bar of quality set by Jared,
Yeah, I talked about this with Alec earlier because I was talking about sometimes there's like the Alec in my unconscious when we work on stuff, but that starts with Jared, and I do think and let's just be honest, people. I don't talk about Jared a lot, largely because like I just like want to respect he's doing his own thing, and he seems happy and he makes videos, and that's cool. There's a weird vibe that is not his fault at all, where people almost like to like pit us against each other or like use Jared as a foil to critique the channel now or what we're doing, and people love to just like spread weird things that aren't true. And I think my strategy sometimes is just to say nothing and not like engage in that shit. But Jared is someone who really just like always cared about rigor and quality. I remember sometimes like being on copy edits with Jared and Alec and stuff for scripts, and sometimes like we would basically completely rewrite a script on the fly over a few hours on a call, and I was like, holy shit. But I think that it speaks to the quality that Jared was striving for, the quality that then Alec was striving for, and then Evan. I'll speak about Evan like he's not here. Evan's the person I think of as kind of establishing that level of standards for like the postscript side of things. Well, when videos were actually like getting made in terms of production, Evan's someone who approaches stuff like that with a lot of care and precision. So I think that you in a lot of ways took, that level of concern and translated it into another side of things we were doing.
Yeah, just kind of carrying on like that bar set by everybody. I was like scanning through the chat while you guys were talking, but yeah, definitely shout out to everybody who like, was back in the day, like those first few years of Wisecrack. It's so different now, right? You get to a different team and things like that. But like Greg Edwards, who hosted Thug Notes, Garrick Swarmuloid, of course. I'm blanking on the actor's name, the
Mark.
man's name. Mark, yes, that's
Mark,
right.
I'm forgetting Mark Schrader.
Yes,
Schrader?
Mark Schroeder.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Well,
of course,
yeah.
Emily and Joy,
Yep.
and Alex Kruger,
Big shout out
and
to Joy.
Jacob,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid team of people that I met and people that I definitely didn't meet, but have also, contributed. So it's great to see, y'all are still doing, putting out good work. That's the most important thing.
Well, yeah, and someone brought this up in the channel. So, Daniel Kim said, "I love you, but I do miss Jared." And Hector Bropp, he has a channel. So, yeah, for all the Jared heads out there, he streams, he makes videos on his own channel. So you guys can check that out. And, it's cool to see people doing stuff like our buddy Greg Edwards. I think sometimes people are like, bring back Thug Notes. Why isn't he there? But like, guys, like he's a writer on a TV show. That just fought to get their union recognized. He's if you're in the Los Angeles area, he's performing comedy all the time. So he's doing a lot of very cool stuff. A lot of people that, Jacob has been off starting and running businesses and stuff like that in recent years. Joy had such a intense experience at Wisecrack. She had to leave the country. Fled to England.
Gosh.
Yeah, but and I think too, Evan, Evan's someone who, like myself to an extent, was there through this period where like, folks, there was a time where Wisecrack had like our own office space and we had a pretty deep roster of freelance staff members. And, I think sometimes I'm defensive when people will remark on like, I guess, changing levels of quality in certain things, but also like part of it is just we over the past 2 years, it's gone from like we had around 8 people who were like full-time helping make stuff, and then it was 6, and it just keeps getting smaller and smaller. And I think that's kind of a lot of the changes we've had on the channel do reflect changes in like the digital media landscape, how channels make money. And Wisecrack started in this era, and this is reflective of the early videos where like you could have a Alien or Earthling Cinema, you could have a Thug Notes and almost create what would have been like a more TV style series and make money on it and do something. And you look at how YouTube shifted. Now most of the stuff that pops off the most on YouTube, besides, Mr. Beast, is like people in rooms talking about stuff or like very niche things or streaming based things. It's a very different beast.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you had tried to launch Wisecrack right now and said you were going to do Thug Notes, Philosophy of, and Earthling Cinema, those videos would have such different, competing. They'd be competing for views because they'd have different audiences. Like when I first was hired at Wisecrack, that's why Earthling Cinema got its own YouTube channel, because they were like, listen, some people are only subscribed for this show and not for the other thing. So let's try to make it its own channel. But then they reran the numbers and they're like, oh, it's too expensive to make or blah, 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 which I don't know if that's true, but regardless. Yeah. Yeah, so it is. That's a great point. It's like a different time, right? But I think the prime thing is that you're finding an identity within this new landscape, which I think you guys have really successfully done since I left. Was I holding you back? No, just kidding.
Yes, you were. Well, I mean, I think the thing too, and Evan, we're kind of riffing on some stuff now, but if you're still watching, maybe you guys care about this, and this is one for y'all. This is a stream for the core. But it's a transition too, because I think we were talking to Helen earlier. I think something that Helen and I both struggled with when we first started hosting was sort of like not just sounding like we were doing Jared impersonations. And part of that as well is because all the videos up until a point were written in Jared's voice. And even scripts that Helen and I were hosting were being finalized by Jared or with a team of writers who had that in mind. So I think it's been a weird transition to, give people like myself and, to give Helen room to have their own voice. And then I think when Jared did finally leave, it was this weird era of like, how much of the way we do things are repeating patterns and styles of production and ways of writing and ways of hosting that lean into the strengths of someone that's no longer here. And at what point, I think there's a certain point where he had to transition to like, because for example, like there's things that Jared was good at that I'm not good at, and sort of, a style he has that I don't have. And at a certain point, I think what we've had to do is like lean into what I'm good at and lead into what our writers and directors who we have staff are like good at now, which is always it's a hard transition to do that. And it's, a transition that's still always kind of taking place.
Yeah. And I think that especially like that was probably a positive of being able to like step away from Wisecrack, was like allowing you guys to feel like, all right, now it feels like we are kind of like rebooting things in a certain sense, And I feel like we were slowly, like Alec and I and yourself, we were all like slowly, and Amanda, of course, we're like slowly pushed, like turning the dial, and I think it really, was able to like fully go over, and you're able to do stuff in your own, which makes everything more comfortable and makes the whole thing, great.
So what's it been like in your experience post Wisecrack now, working at a very successful group of channels? Well, what's that been like for you? Like what have you kind of brought with you? What sort of stuff have you learned? What's your recent experience been like?
Yeah, it's interesting because like at Wisecrack, I always used to tell people, I was like, oh man, I'm working on like 6 videos at one time, right? Like I'd always be prepping 2 weeks in advance for the videos that are upcoming, like trying to figure out what footage we needed, then finalizing the videos, shooting the videos with you that needed to be happening next week, and then finalizing the video that needed to be published that week. So it was like, 6 videos. When I first started at New Rockstars, I was working on 5 videos a week. And then, which, if you think about the upcoming, was like 10 videos a week.
And at New Rockstars too, weren't you guys doing stuff where it's like you're kind of just like writing, shooting, filming, like all in one big push?
Yeah. I'm only on the live stream side of things, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But basically, yeah, we would be very reactive to things that were happening. So even if I had like a script ready for the live stream that day, if something more important happened 20 minutes before the show, I'd have to throw it all out and start writing again. So I think one of the things that like working at Wisecrack really helped prep me for was that kind of like sense of organization of being like, okay, these are the things coming up in the future. How can we prepare for that with the time that we have like right now? And of course, what are we focusing on right now? And also I think one thing that I really liked about working in the digital landscape, I think it's something when you are a like younger creative, you feel like everything is very like precious, right? Like everything has to be like, this has to look a certain way, sound a certain way, but when you put out, in Wisecrack's case, right, 2 videos a week, or and now in my case, putting out a video every day, there are some things that you have to let go, because if you think about it, like you're a news show, hey, you maybe mess up one thing today, but you'll get it on the next one, right? And I think that's something I slowly found at Wisecrack to be like, just because this sound effect wasn't turned on at like minute 237 isn't gonna like make the experience worse for it's like, hey, just missed it on that one,
That is, it's a learning thing of like that thing that sometimes there's stuff that we, and especially someone like you who's very precise and detail oriented, notice that the average person, or like that 99% of viewers aren't going to notice, but it's hard sometimes to get that like shift going in your head.
Yeah.
What's the best thing people could do right now to really become and stay huge Evan heads? Is it just following the break room, being involved, subscribing, getting into stuff?
Follow the break room if you're into, if you're into not deep conversations about the latest and greatest in Marvel or Star Wars or any of these like quote unquote nerdy
It is fun though.
properties.
I don't watch every episode, but like if I'm on and it pops on, it is like fun, and there's a lot of you have like good people.
Lots of people
on your roster, people who are like fun to watch. You have a cool, and especially from my one experience being there with you, really cool chat. a nice
Oh
community,
yeah.
which is great.
Yeah, I love popping into your guys' stream too and seeing the chat, like everybody. Like it makes me wish that we had done these more often, when we were at Wisecrack or when I was at
Yeah.
Wisecrack. Yeah,
Woulda,
like the
shoulda,
culture based
coulda.
chat, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
Well, Evan, I appreciate you popping in, especially because you're out of town right now.
Yeah.
You're traveling, but yet you still have your cool background.
I know I'm in the hacker den right now. As soon as I move back to the waiting room, all these TVs are switching to Hitman starring Glenn Powell, and I'll be watching them.
Let's go. Have you watched it yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it
That's what I'd be
rules.
doing right now.
It rules so much. Okay, we need to let Evan get out of here so we can go watch Hitman, the first film to accurately present what it's like to be a philosophy professor. It's totally accurate. It's all what it's like. Did you not know that he's a philosophy professor in the movie?
No! Oh my
Oh,
god.
dude, first scene. Oh my God. Go watch it now. And then Evan, let me know what went down in the waiting room later because I'm so sad that I wasn't there to be part of the drama. But Evan, everyone, thanks so much for being here. A huge part of this channel, a huge part of like where this channel is now. His fingerprints are all over everything. And we can't dust him off. The cops will always know. And follow the break room, watch the break room. I think a lot of you really dig it if you're not already aware of it. So enjoy the Hitman, dude. Or sorry, just Hitman.
Yeah, oh, just Hitman. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Michael. Yeah, talk to y'all later.
Later. Okay, friends. We've really just been running through guests here. So if you are in chat, I did open up a Q&A thing. If anyone has questions about the channel, I will answer any of those today. So that is open right now. Our emails have been open as well. I think we only have like one thing that came in today. And our buddy Tim, who's a professor, wrote us just a very nice email.
What is it?
Oh, so Tim just said, to my academic comrades in arms, congrats on surviving the ever-changing YouTube algorithm for 10 years. Here's to another 10. It's a breath of fresh air to know there are academic and intellectual channels out there who put in the groundwork to create the thoughtful and entertaining content you do. I almost lost count of the number of books I've purchased based on the primary sources you use. I have an assignment to give my students on digital literacy and how good information as well as disinformation can proliferate on YouTube, citing your channel for great examples of the former. I know I'm just a simple random adjunct from a college no one's heard of. Not true. But your work makes a positive difference. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't let the little gremlins from online debate bros deter you, and Musk is still a moron. It's from our buddy Tim. So Tim, really appreciate that. Tim's a cool dude. Really appreciate his support on the channel. I'll quickly, not to be self whatever, but I've asked everyone else to do this, and don't worry, I'll ask Henry this too. But for anyone who cares, and I'll answer any questions about this as well. Like I said before, I started working for this channel part-time over 7 years ago. I was living in England, and I got introduced to a guy named Todd, who was running the channel with the founders, Jacob Solomon and Jared Bauer. Got introduced because they knew I was someone who was a philosophy professor, but also was writing and performing comedy at the time. And I think they thought I would be a good fit. So I started writing for the channel. My first video came out in April of 2017 and was actually a video called, it was called It's Always Sunny, the perfect anti-sitcom. So that Always Sunny video was the first one I wrote for the channel. Some of my other early ones were first video I ever did on Atlanta, video on Key and Peele, the philosophy of Get Out, and then a video called Gaze into the Abyss, Nihilism, Rick and Morty and BoJack Horseman. And I did mostly just writing for a couple years. I did some podcast guest things. And then I had a period, because I like being sloppy and honest with you guys, where I got kind of annoyed with some of the people at the channel. And I didn't do anything for Wisecrack for a little over a year. Because I wasn't feeling things for a while. And then I came back into the fold, on a more consistent basis, October of 2019, or a little bit after that, as someone mentioned before. Around the same time, Jared took a little leave of absence. He's talked about this before. I got brought in for a bit to take over as host and some other stuff. And then January of 2020, I came on a 4-month full-time contract to, kind of fill in for Jared when he was out for a little bit. I then left again for a month or two, and then I think it was July, like the 1st of July 2020, so almost 4 years ago, is when I came on full time. So yeah, it's been a weird journey for me. And like some people, like I've said this before, definitely a thing that's been hard for me over the years is, it's hard to be in a position where you are filling very big shoes. And Jared and Jacob have just done an amazing job in starting this channel. We're forever thankful for them. And it's hard, right? Because people are always going to be mad when someone new steps in when they're different. But the fact of the matter is, like, I'm a different guy than Jared. I'm a different guy from Jacob. I have different strengths. I have different weaknesses. I have a different personality. I have, in some ways, different values and different ways of expressing those values. But I think the thing that creates a line of continuity is, you guys probably know this. I'm trained in philosophy, went to grad school, have a PhD, used to teach students. I'm someone who's been really involved in comedy in that world. And for me, my passion is just like communicating ideas about the world in a way that's hopefully fun and engaging and both rigorous without being too serious. And I do think with all the changes, that spirit of the channel is still there. The spirit of, we want to take things going on in culture and media in the world. We want to use those things as the occasion to talk about, things that matter. So know that I appreciate everyone who's kind of been on board through all those transitions, and know that we have just an awesome team. Amanda Shirker, one of our EPs, was our head of editorial for a while. Really also filled some big shoes and kind of taking over Alec's slot when he left. But someone who really drives the channel in terms of making sure we're putting out high quality videos, being rigorous about research and writing, making sure we're keeping stuff on track, filling out our calendar with exciting stuff. We have Olivia Redden, our producer, who really is the glue that keeps the whole thing together. You've heard me use the name producer Olivia. Of course, Lux, who was on earlier. Lux is in many ways the energetic, creative, chaotic force behind a lot of stuff. And then we have awesome people like, producer Henry, who both, works on the stream but helps edit some of our videos. And we have a lot of other great editors who work behind the scenes. We have some great freelance writers and researchers. So, shouts to Rachel, shouts to Corey, shouts to Michael, not me or Lux, another Michael. And of course, shout out to all of the writers who have written scripts over the years, tons of awesome people. And the cool thing is lots of people who've written for us have gone on to do other things and much bigger things. There's been lots of cool directors and stuff who have worked with us, who have gone on to do different things. And it's been really cool to see that. Now, people in the chat have been asking about this too. Like, people often ask about Thug Notes and Aliens Guide. Like, those are never coming back. There's a 0% possibility either of those shows are ever coming back. The reason being, they're from a different era of YouTube. Things like that don't really get made anymore because I'll be real with you, they're very expensive. Very expensive to make, and not as much money in those things anymore. And I guarantee you that the people involved in those are fine. I know that one of the people that helped develop Aliens Guide is been like a screenwriter working in TV and other things. Like we said, Greg Edwards is a writer on a TV show on MTV and a successful comedian. I don't think he's itching to get back to making $400 to shoot a YouTube video, So I think that everyone has to accept that those are things that happened. They're not going to happen again. They're just not. They're awesome. We're so glad that they're a part of the history of this channel, but the channel's kind of had to adjust and adapt with where YouTube is gone. And those things will always be there, And whenever people complain about that, I think about the Jay-Z line where he kind of says, if people want my old shit, buy my old albums, right? Those are always there. You can always go back and watch content from those people. And if you're someone that really loves Greg Edwards, well, don't yell at us. Support his work. He's he's making stuff in the world right now, and you could just actively go support what he's doing. And I encourage you to do so because he's an amazing person and a really great comedian. We're not going to get into all of it. Let's watch a little clip of the first video I ever hosted. And it was a video on Marvel's Daredevil. A few confessions. I hosted this video before I ever watched the show. So everything I'm saying, never watched the show. I also didn't write the script, so it's not written in my voice. Before I hosted this, I had done acting and I'd done comedy stuff, but I'd never done just like reading a prompter and reading type stuff. So it was like tough. And if you go back, some of the early stuff that I hosted is a little tough. It's tough because I'm getting used to, reading off a prompter. I'm getting used to figuring out like my own voice. And as some of you might notice now, when we film videos now, I like read off the script, but then I like say stuff. I'll have digressions. I will change the wording. I'll pitch jokes, stuff like that. For the first bit, it was just like, I would basically get slapped on the wrist if I said a word wrong. So and here's the thing, I've never watched this because it was such a weird vibe and I kind of felt bad about how it went when I did it, that I was just like, I'm never going to watch this. I think Bradley Cooper once said he doesn't watch his movies. So we won't watch the whole thing, but for the first time ever, I'm going to be confronted with my first ever hosting thing. Let me just change one thing really quick. Okay. So let's check this out. Imagine, is it pulled up, Henry, if I click play? And in the chat, you're allowed to roast me. Permission has been given. Okay. Jonathan Ramirez, thank you so much for that. Let's see.
This episode is brought to you by CuriosityStream.
Echoey audio. Just echoey audio right off the bat. Oh, the old animation.
What's up, Wisecrack? Michael here.
Okay, so I think I look like I might weigh a little bit more there, and I would say first critique I have is that neck beard. I think I could have shaved a little bit differently. Got the black t-shirt, rocking the Helen look, and this is filmed in our old office. I guess I look a little bit younger there. This is 5 years ago or something, 4 or 5 years ago.
You may have heard me on our Rick and Morty podcast where, much to my dismay,
Dude, come on.
dubbed me Dr. Nihilism. I've also written some videos you might recognize, like our Always Sunny episode, the Gaze into the Abyss episode, the Philosophy of Get Out, and more recently, our Kayfabe episode. Today, we're continuing our...
Oh my God, this is brutal. I'm just, my whole energy like, today, I'm going to tell you about Toyota's new Prius. Have you ever wanted to drive further and pay less for gas? It's like I'm trying to sell you something.
Discussion on the only defense attorney who breaks the law more often than Mike.
And in my vocal affect, it's so clear that I'm kind of riding like the Jared wave.
Cohen, Daredevil. Matthew Murdock's Catholicism has always been a defining element of his character and has distinguished him from most...
Oh, and I think this is the first one too, because they were like, oh, Daredevil, it's about like a weird Catholic. Michael's a weird Catholic.
Most other non-religious superheroes. But it's in this most recent season that Catholicism comes front and center. To understand Matthew's struggle and why we think season 3 is so awesome, we'll have to dive into one of the most important questions that
why we think it's so awesome, because I'd watched it.
With for
I did like it when I eventually watched it.
So join us as we break down how the man without fear...
Dead eyes. So join us.
...becomes the man without faith in this Wisecrack quick take on Daredevil season 3. And of course...
It's like I'm about to ask you to like get in my van and join my religion.
And of course, spoilers ahead. First, a quick recap. Some months after the events of Defenders, but presumably before the
Defenders, that was tough.
Children of Thanos double parked their donut ship in Greenwich Village, Matt Murdock awakens from a coma in the church-run orphanage he was raised in. While the worst of his injuries have healed, his spirit remains broken. Daredevil is convinced that his crusade against injustice had ultimately failed. As such, he takes up residence in the chapel Undercroft, retreating from society and allowing his public persona to remain dead to the world. This makeshift Batcave serves as one of the primary set pieces.
Man. I would say the message here is you can always grow, guys. We can always learn. Chris Maverick. Yeah, your cadence is definitely weird. Definitely did sound like Jerry, like kind of the tone where it's like da-da-da-da-da-da. And also, I'll describe this to you now. The way we used to film stuff is like I was in a room It was like an office, and I was standing in the office space, and there was just like 5 people on the other side of me. It was just a very different vibe. And it was almost like I was like a guest. You know what I mean? I was like a guest in the place, and I was like auditioning to an extent. Whereas now when I film, I just sit there and I'm like, this is my house. This is my house. And there I was like, I'm a guest in somebody else's
Constant
house.
conversations between Murdoch, Father Lantom, and Sister Maggie drive much of the engagement with
But I sound very soy. I sound very low T. And
Matt's
that's
Catholic faith, or rather, the lack thereof. Like Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman, Daredevil is blinded by the problem of evil, which
King's
Lex
Pork all gets
summarizes
it.
as
God is all powerful. He cannot be all good. And if he is all good, then he cannot be all powerful.
In one scene, Murdoch compares his seemingly senseless suffering to that of Job.
Story of God's perfect servant, Job.
yeah, we should use clips a lot more as well.
Prayed
in
every
videos.
day at dawn with his knees on the ground, his face in the dirt. Slaughtered 10 goats, one for each of his children. And
We're only
burned
gonna
them
watch
at
a
the
few more
altar
minutes of
in
this, guys.
God's honor.
Here, I'm just gonna scroll to the end. How do I land this guy? Let's see. Is this the ad read?
Greatest filmmakers, including exclusive originals.
We used to do
It's the
ads at the
perfect
end of
way to
videos.
enhance your Curious Minds philosophy. Incredible content
Wow.
is available worldwide on a variety. Thanks
No
again.
free ads.
Dr. Nihilism. Out.
Yeah, now owned by Nebula.
Oh, really? I think at the end I said Dr. Nihilism out. I should have been shot for that. That was a big thing as well. At the end of the videos, Jared always said peace. And then they wanted everyone to say peace. And then, yeah, they really tried to I love Mean Girls. And one of my favorite lines from Mean Girls, when they talk about making fetch happen. And they were trying to make Dr. Nihilism happen. Let's see. Yeah, that was definitely pre-pandemic, guys. That was very pre-pandemic. Let's watch 2 seconds of. I'll tell you, one of my favorite things we ever made. And some of you know this was hot takes. Haircuts are a scam. Let's watch 2 seconds of this, and then answer some questions.
Want to pay $75 for a burrito?
Watch this if you
Maybe I
haven't.
do.
But will that burrito last for 6 weeks?
And are all
Sorry to
burritos
interrupt.
are all burritos a scam?
This is my time.
He's right.
Okay.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Hot Take, the show where we have smart
This is a weird format that was forced on us, but we made the most of
people argue about really absurd things. Every week, we give our defendant a fresh hot take that they have to defend against our
it. I would say this episode is the funniest thing that's ever been
Spread the
produced on this
love.
entire channel.
I don't need to pay for that. I am that. This off, put it on that. I mean, you
Both teams compete for
You know what? We won't watch it all. Let me see if I can skip ahead a little bit. So this guy James gives a presentation on why haircuts are a scam. He's very funny and very committed. I think he talks at one point about the Nazis. Let's see if I can find it. And if not, yeah, timeline of
a
haircuts.
horse-drawn carriage exposed to the elements. Suddenly, cars, roof, your hat won't fit inside the car. Okay? The death knell to hats. Great Depression, or as I like to say, hats last hurrah. Then you'll see shortly thereafter, the Great Depression led to the signing of the New Deal. Look at this. FDR signing a part of the New Deal right here. Notice anything? No hats. Clean-cut haircuts. 1964, Beatlemania. Let your hair grow. Everyone started to do it. A few years later, 67, Summer of Love. 69, Woodstock. Hippie hair, long hair, let it go. You don't need to cut it. And then what happened? People weren't making money. GDP was an issue. The United States went off the gold standard. High demand for dollars abroad. Trade deficits soared. So what happened? They had to monetize it via haircuts.
This man literally draws an argument connecting U.S. trade deficits and the fall of the gold standard with the necessity for culture to reintroduce the importance of haircuts. Listen, we're not going to watch more of that. It was a crazy thing, but that episode was really wild. Let's see. Someone said drop out smarty pants really reminds me of hot take. Which one was first? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to go to the questions right now. Okay. Wait, is this the right? Why won't it let me see the top ones? Oh, here we go. Oh, I hate how this works. Oh, why can't I see it? Okay, I'm going to start at the bottom. Eddie says, was there a moment when you realized you were starting to come into your own? A little bit. I would say one of the first things I did, we did this other show that was called The Good, the Bad, and the Brilliant. which we made right before COVID. And I got to sit down with some very fun people, like one of the dudes from Whitest Kid You Know, like Billy Domino, like Jamie Loftus. And when I was more conversational and got to riff more, I felt like I was a lot more myself. And I think I was able to take that into videos. Let's see. Angel That's Funny says, I don't pay attention to politics, but are you guys still owned by any evil corporate overlords? Our parent company is called Enthusiast Gaming. YouTube Watcher says, where do you see Wisecrack in 5 years? I think if Wisecrack still exists in 5 years, and I'm not being silly here, it'll probably be because at some point the company that we're a part of falls apart. I'm able to maybe work out the numbers to buy the rights to the channel, and then via like subscriptions and small advertisers, we stay afloat. Shifting Tide says, if an alternate timeline, what would you be doing if you weren't at Wisecrack? Maybe still teaching, or, you know, doing some sort of like writing or content creation stuff. Evidence Science says, if you could decide freely and money was no problem for Wisecrack, what would you do first? If money were no option, we didn't have to worry about clicks, I would want to do a weekly show, kind of combining some of what we already do and some of the stream stuff, breaking down like 3 or 4 topics from the week, probably being a little bit more spicy. Sean Harriman says, would the Squanch ever make a return? I think the Squanch probably won't. And I'll honestly say, because like the Rick and Morty has changed in terms of like the show's cultural dominance, and the fans got to be a little too much. And I just think it's like, it became like diminishing returns on that one for us. 69 DJ, I can't see the top of the question, says, can we possibly get a broad video about tech and AI? Okay, so great question. This is a crazy thing. 69 DJ. Nice. AI videos do really bad. We always have ideas about AI. And if you look back, whenever we make an AI thing, it underperforms. So it almost, we had a discussion last week that was sort of like, how can we make an AI video that people actually watch? So I don't know. If you're in the chat, let us know what you think about this sort of stuff. Sean said, is there a way to direct philosophy of? I also want to see Michael wax poetic on the beautiful words and lyrics of Robert Hunter and Jerry Garcia. Oh my God, I would love that, Sean. This is going to sound like I'm being a scumbag, but I don't mean to. You know, over on Patreon, I do philosophy breakdowns. I think we want to sneak philosophy of back in. But Sean, like, for example, Friday's video on anxiety is basically a philosophy of anxiety video. And I think we struggled to frame it and market it the right way. And it's performed really bad. It's been our worst performing video for a while. And I think that a thing we're still trying to figure out is like how we better market our stuff so that people want to click it, and how we kind of, I don't know, can do what we want to do. I mean, the biggest thing, right, is how we do what we want to do while keeping the ship afloat. And that is the hardest thing in recent years for this channel. It's our hardest struggle still, is like, how can we make stuff that we feel good about, that you guys are going to like, and stay afloat? And even today, I had like a conversation earlier today with some people at this company where I had to be like, you guys want us to do an ad for this thing, but if we do that thing, the audience is going to fucking hate it. So like, what are we doing here? You know, it's tough. Someone brought up stand-up comedy. So I've never really done stand-up, more like improv and sketch comedy. I still perform improv comedy in Los Angeles. I've done some like stand-up stuff, but more like in character, I guess. And I very, you know, I would say the comedy stuff I like to do is both very weird and very earnest, if that makes sense. If you're ever in LA, let me know, and I'll tell you when a show is happening. Henry, you know, you've been really producing hard today and haven't had as much space to be the wonderful, you know, on mic personality people like. So tell us, how did you start doing stuff with Wisecrack?
Through Lux. So I was thinking about this. I've been with Wisecrack for about 2.5 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's funny that this is Wisecrack's 10-year anniversary, because 10 years ago is like right about the time I showed up in Austin.
Ooh.
But back in 2014, like when I showed up in Austin, I was doing Austin film scene stuff, doing, you know, Austin film meets, networking, meeting people. And, you know, I struck it off with Lux. We had a lot of overlap with our kind of like geek interests and hobbies. And then, you know, I was editing working on set, doing photography. I was doing all kinds of stuff over the course of those years. But 2021, I was editing cartoons at the Cartoon Factory. I won't say any actual studio names, but you can look up my IMDb if you're that curious about it. I was cutting up machinima and cartoons at the Cartoon Factory, but management at the Cartoon Factory was kind of bad, and so the whole animation team quit. Slash was fired. It's a very confusing, dramatic thing. I'm not gonna get into the details of it here, but I just hit up Lux and I was like, yeah, labor was going bad there, so all the animators quit. I'm quitting as well. What's up? And then he was like, well, you can do some social media for Wisecrack. So I started doing that, and then I knew Lux and Griffin from, hanging out, gaming, doing stuff in Austin in a general creative way. And I think shortly after doing the social media stuff, Griffin was asking about like my streaming stuff because I've streamed on Twitch. I know how to use OBS. Yeah. That was something for the Machinima Factory. And then from there, I started doing this.
Well, hell yeah. And we're glad that you're here and that you're a part of the current journey.
I do.
And honestly,
so
go ahead.
Working so much production stuff and just on cynical commercial work in other YouTube channels and things that, sometimes you feel like you're just going for the paycheck, or like, you do a lot of freelance work where you're all like, yeah, let's just get this dumb thing done. I need the money. So these past 2 years of doing essays where I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty ideologically entertained by this, or I find like the product in good faith. That's been such a wonderful change of pace.
Amazing. I love it. And we're just always very stoked. We're just stoked to have you here. And I know the community is very stoked to have you here, Henry. So we're glad that you're a part of it.
Yeah, I do share a bit of like, I understand the frustration with like, where's philosophy of, where's Thug Notes? Because I remember, I think Pride and Prejudice Thug Notes was like the first thing I saw on this channel a long time ago. And like the philosophy of Dark Souls stuff was something that I remember gripping me. The video on Jordan Peele's Us. A lot of those like older Wisecrack videos, it was like the pop culture stuff that was grabbing me. So like I understand the frustration now, but as Taylor said in the chat earlier, I think it's a great document of like how the YouTube algorithm has changed over time and kind of like what's permitted risk and reward now, and over the past decade, how that's changed.
Yeah. Fucking A. It's crazy. It's crazy that YouTube still exists. It's crazy that we still exist. But thank you to everyone who hung out. If you're still here, just again, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Again, if you want to check it out, get some coffee. Yes, please. Go to Yes, please. Put up, what was I going to say? Put in the code Wisecrack, get 20% off. It's genuinely very good. I have one last sip. It's gotten lukewarm now. Someone said I like when Henry shows up on More Perfect Union. Do you do More Perfect Union stuff?
No, I'm very confused by that comment. What?
Maybe it's some meta joke. Allie Cattails, thank you for all your support. And yeah, I'll say this. Everyone, all of you, everyone who has liked a video, everyone who's commented on a video, anyone who's watched a stream, liked a stream, anyone who's joined Patreon, anyone who's super chatted, anyone who's been a member of the YouTube channel, anyone who's ever, all of these things, it has all helped us. And the fact of the matter is, you guys are the reason we still exist, more than any sponsor, more than any company thing, whatever. So just want to thank you all so much for being such a great community. It helps us during hard times to know that we're making stuff for people like y'all. So here's the 10 years. Let's have 10 more. We'll catch you Wednesday on Wisecrack Live. In the meantime, go watch some old videos. Be nice to each other. Tell your mom you love her. Eat healthy. And we'll see you on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday, y'all. Have a good week.